You know, Father's Day is supposed to be a remembrance of the importance of fathers and the family and what they do. And we're going to be talking about that today. And, you know, if you look at America today and you look at people in prison, probably well over half of those people did not have a father at home. You know, in school, I noticed when I was at Ethel, the kids we had the most problems with were the kids that didn't have a father at home, that even if they did have a father at home, he wasn't being a father. You know, he may be a drug addict, or he wasn't there all the time, or, you know, just as a mother is important in the family structure, so is the father. And the father is the head of the spirit, he's the spiritual head of the family. He's the one that's going to be held accountable. He's the one that's supposed to set the example for the children. And if you notice in life, if going to church is important to the father, it's going to be important to the child. Because children learn by example. You know, we are raising generations of kids that can just barely take caps off of bottles, but can't work on anything. When we were growing up, we were out there working with our father. He'd show us one time, and then we were expected to know how to do it. But our father taught us how to do something, how to do stuff. And so we are capable of working on things because we learn by the example of our father. And I'm going to give you a story. I had a young man. He was in 7th grade. And smart. Could have been a doctor. Anything he wanted to be, he could have been. But he didn't do anything. He caused problems. He got in trouble all the time. And one day I kept him after class and I asked him, I said, "Son, you know you're smart." "Yes, sir, I know I'm smart." I said, "Then why are you making the grades that you're making and you're causing the problems that we have in the classroom?" He said, "Don't care. I'm not going to need it." I said, why do you think you're not going to need it? He said, "I'm going to be in prison with my daddy. That's where I want to be at." Now, his daddy was in prison for killing somebody. Understand that. You remember the young man from Ocean Springs that came up to West Mississippi to pick up a four-wheeler? This young man was one of the ones that shot him. Okay? While they were waiting to get him on that, he ended up shooting a game warden through the door of his truck when the game warden caught him spotlighting. And when the game warden shot him back, then he wanted to sue the game warden for paralyzing him. But guess where he's at right now? He's sitting in Parchman with his daddy. You see, he learned from the example of his daddy. Fathers are important to have. You know, his grandmother tried to be, I don't know where his mother was, but his grandmother tried to be mother and father. But there's something slightly different between a mother and a father. And fathers are important. I want you to understand that. And I want you to open up your Bibles. And I want you to turn to Luke chapter 2. verse 41. We're going to start in verse 41, and we're going to go through 50. Luke chapter 2, verse 41 through 50. Now, Jesus has come to Jerusalem for the Passover, and he's at the temple. And he's teaching in the temple at the age of 12. And his parents had left going back home, and they realized, hey, Jesus is not here with us. So let's read what happens. His parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem according to the custom of the feast. When they had finished the days as they returned, the boy Jesus lingered behind in Jerusalem, and Joseph and his mother did not know it. But supposing him to have been in the company, they went a day's journey and sought him among their relatives and acquaintances. So when they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem, seeking him. Now so it was that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of teachers, both listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. So when they saw him, they were amazed, and his mother said to him, Son, why have you done this to us? Look, your father and I have sought you anxiously. And he said to them, Why did you seek me? Did you not know that I must be about my Father's business? But they did not understand the statement which he spoke to them. Today I want to talk about fathers. Are you in your Father's house? You know, like Jesus said, don't you understand? I need to be about my Father's business. We need to be about our Father's business. God is our Father. I want you to understand, our home is somewhere. No ifs, ands, buts about it. We either got a home in heaven or we got a home in hell. But our home is somewhere. Now, there are a lot of fathers out there that home is on earth. They're more concerned with worldly things than eternal things. Making memories. I don't know what they don't understand is if you're worried about your own memory when you die, you're not going to be thinking a whole lot about that if you're in hell. And if you're making memories with your children, when they die, they're gone too. You need to be more concerned with the eternal things so that they can spend eternity with you. So that you can teach them what they need to be taught. That's the importance of being in church. That's the importance of serving God. Mothers and fathers, we teach our children about God. About how we observe God, how we serve God, how we think about God. Is it important to us? You know, or there's so many people today that are focused on the here and now. They don't even think about eternity. They don't think about what's going to happen when we close our eyes in death. You know, a teenager, the last thing they think about is dying. But man, this year we've had a bunch of teenagers that close their eyes in death. Wonder what their decision had been prior to that. Where are they spending their eternity at? What did their parents teach them about God, about Jesus? What role did their parent have in their understanding about Jesus? So many people, their only concern is what the world thinks about them. You know, as children of God, the last thought we should have is what the world thinks about us. We should be more concerned with what God thinks about us. And that's what we need to be telling our friends. We need to be telling them it's not about what they think. It's about what He thinks. We're not playing a game. This is reality. This is life. This is what we need to get concerned about. Because you see, we're on a journey. We're either on a journey to heaven or we're on a journey to hell. And whichever road we're traveling, that's what we're guiding our family down. You see, we're a tour guide. As we tour this world, we lead our family. They're going to follow us. They're going to do what we do. We're laying the roots. We're laying the foundation of the next generation. And we need to be careful about what we're teaching. Because you see, think about this for a moment. You're in the middle of the woods. You have to lead your family home out of those woods. You got two paths to choose. Each one leads to a home. You got to know which one to take to the home you want to go to. Fathers, that's the road that we're playing. We're either leading them down the road to heaven or we're leading them down the road to hell. You know, and we are the ones that are teaching about God's house. And I don't know about y'all, but if y'all look out there are so many families out there that are single parent families. Sometimes we, gentlemen, have to take up the role of somebody else's fatherhood. Richard, I know, has found out probably in the last year, he's got some kids there that look at him sort of like a father figure because they don't have one at home. And he'll have more of those as the years go by. We have to be their example. We have to show them the way to go. Because you want to know something? People say, oh, I got plenty of time. They just assume that they're not going to die. You know, that's like a teenager. Teenager, oh, I got plenty of time to do something. I don't have to do anything right now. But the truth of the matter is, none of us knows when our time is. I'm going to be quite honest with you. I never expected to reach 62. Just the way I grew up, with things I did, never expected to reach it. I did. I never thought I was going to draw Social Security. Hopefully I'll get my first check in July, at the end of July. At least get one check before I check out. But you know, we don't know when that time's coming. And I'm going to tell you something else. If we don't start teaching our children young, it's a lot harder to teach them when they're older. We need to give them that example. You know, people say, well, no one would care. I can't tell you of my course as a teacher how many kids I had, nobody cares. And you want to know what the honest truth was? They didn't. Nobody in their house cared. And it took them a long time to realize that there was someone that cared. So we need to be examples, not just for our children, but for other people's children. People are watching. We need to step up and help people. Step up and show people the path to go. No matter what color they are, what sex they are. Jesus came to save everybody. Anyone who would believe. You see, while everybody else is out there seeking the world, we're not to. The world is not ours. The world is theirs. I had a preacher tell me one time, we were talking about why God blessed sinners. And oftentimes it seemed like the saved got the short end of the stick. And his response was this. He said, the sinner, God can only bless for a short time. And as their Father, He desires to bless them. But He can only do it for a short time because they're going to end up in hell. But the saved, He has for eternity. He can bless them for all eternity. And I thought about that for a bit, and that makes sense. I mean, you have children. You want to bless your children. Well, you can. Because there's going to come a time when you can't. So, we don't need to be concerned with this world. We need to be concerned with God. The world should have no meaning for us. We're just walking through this world. We shouldn't get all wrapped up and concerned with what's going on. What we should be concerned with in this world is that lost person on the street. Or that person that slid back into sin. We need to be telling them about Jesus. We need to be inviting them to church. We need to be showing them the example that we believe what we say. We need to be asking them, do you need help? Do you need help getting to church? We need to be looking for ways to show God's love to them. Because you want to know something? This world has no hold on us. Because there's going to come a day when we're going to rejoice. Because we're no longer here. We're in heaven. We need to be ready to serve no matter what. No matter what it's going to cost us. When we hear God's call, we need to answer it. We need to go after it. We need to respond. Father, this is what we need to teach our children, our nephews, our nieces, our grandchildren, the neighbors' kids. They need to see somebody that's willing to get out of the house and go do it. Even on a hot day. Go out and do God's work. You see, it's so easy. Satan's slick, man. He has made it so easy for us to simply say, somebody else can do it. Somebody else can do it better than me. We'll tell you something. If you feel God's call to go do something, nobody else can do it better than you, because God has prepared you before He made that call. So nobody can do the job God has called you to do as good as you can, because they haven't been prepared as you were prepared for that job. So we need to respond to that. And we don't need to worry about what the world has to say about it. I don't care whether somebody likes it or not. What we should be concerned with is whether God likes it or not. Not what the world has to say about it. Because, if God has called you to do something, He has already gone before you and prepared the way for you to do it. And you're going to be successful. And the world's not going to be able to defeat you, because God's got it. And that's why we just need to trust God. And I'm going to tell you something, dads. If you start living the design that God has for fathers, the world's going to be mad at you. They're not going to like it. When you start, that one kid that doesn't have a father, and he starts doing stuff with you and starts looking up to you, there's going to be people that's not going to like that. I'm tell you right now. They're not going to like that you tell them about Jesus. That you don't live like the world lives. You live differently. You serve God. You follow God. But you want to know something? I'd rather have people mad at me and one young man come to Christ and one young lady come to Christ because of it. Like those 11 guys that were captured by the Muslims, terrorists, Christians, and there was one other guy, 12th guy there that was working with them. And they went down the line and said, deny Jesus and live. And every one, no, and they chopped the head off. No, chopped the head off. Got down to that 12th guy that was a Muslim. And they said, well, deny Jesus and you live. He said, no, I want their Jesus. The impact of how we live and how we express it and how we show it can be life-changing. Those 11 men were willing to give their life up for that 12th guy to find life. No matter the cost, we're to go into battle. Fathers, I want you to understand the world will not like it that you are teaching your children to love God and to serve God. The world's going to do everything it can to suck that learning out of your children. Schools will try to teach them everything but the right way to do things. The world will do everything it can to try to counter the teaching of Christ. A couple years back, there was people in our government that said teaching about God is a terrorist act. Our government. That it was harmful to teach the 10 Commandments because it damaged young minds. I mean, these people got to be smart. We've got over 200 sexual orientations now. They got to be smart. We got people out there that don't know whether they're a boy or a girl, which bathroom to use, and we got people out there that want to have caddy litter in the bathrooms. Yes. They identify as a cat. That's the world we're living in. Believe it or not, the Democratic Party, President Biden's Secretary of Education, sent out a memo to schools and said, if you got somebody in your schools that identifies as a cat, you got to provide pet litter for them if you're taking money from the federal government. You know, I mean, it's getting to be an unreal point. But here is the thing. What are fathers teaching their children? What example are we showing the world? What do we stand for? Fathers, God is calling us to be the fathers He has desired us to be. By our service to Him. You know, how many times you don't do as I do as I say. That really makes a lot of sense, folks. If it's not good enough for you to do, then why am I to do it? You know, we got to be willing to know God. Our kids need to see us reading our Bibles at home, studying our Bibles. They need to see us putting in what we learn from here into our life. We need to be changing every day. Every day should be another day that we become more like Jesus. Our kids need to see us telling others about Jesus. Standing for Him. Being the examples that they call us to be. We don't even have to speak words to be an example. We can let our life be the example. We can let our actions be the example. That people see God through us. And fathers, that is what we are to be. We're to be the examples, not only to our children, but to our wife, to our neighborhood, to our community, to our state, to our nation. That's what God calls us to be. To stand firm and stand with Him always. And that's what I challenge you, is to stand firm and stand with Him always as we go through this week. What are we singing?